Okay, this video is for all the people that are just starting out that want to try dot mandalas but don't want to spend a fortune. This is how I started out. I just used recycled cardboard. So this is from a cereal box, and I cut a 4x4 inch square. Now, this is a nice tool for using just to paint your backgrounds, and I got this over at Joann's, but they sell them most any place, Walmart, even the hardware store and stuff, and I paid, I think, 50 cents for this. You can buy them in a bigger pack and get a whole bunch of them, and they're cheaper, but if you buy it individually, it's like 40 to 50 cents. Then I've got this paintbrush that I paid less than $1 for. A pencil, just any regular pencil will do. A toothpick. And I paid less than 99 cents, and I got 3 palettes. I got this big one and then a couple of smaller ones that came in a pack over at Walmart. And I just bought 2 colors of paint, something really dark, and then a white so I can lighten it. So what we're going to do is first we're going to start out and we're going to paint our background in this dark green color. Now if you buy the Apple Barrel paints, those only cost like 50 cents a bottle if you get the matte finish. Sorry, I'm shaking the other paint up. The Deco Art, like this, I like this brand better, but it's like $2 a bottle, sometimes almost $3 a bottle. So I'd recommend getting the Apple Barrel to start. I'd get 2 of these, and then that would only be like $1. So you're looking at under $5 to just try it out. And you know, as long as you eat cereal, you have plenty of things you can practice painting on. So first thing I'm going to do is paint this background in this dark color, and it'll take a few coats because the cardboard will soak it up. I like to use the paintbrush better. This smears it really good, but I get a better coating with this, and then you just gotta wait for it to dry. On the rocks, if you're gonna paint a rock, that other brush works a lot better for painting that. Now I'm going to put a really good coat of this on. And then I'm going to let it dry, and I'll be right back. So just layer this till you got a nice dark coating on, and then we'll be back together. Okay, so as you paint it, you'll notice it'll do this. See how it bows out? It always does that. But if I just leave it sitting over on my desk here and let it dry, it usually flattens out. And if it doesn't, once it's dry, you can always just set a book on it for a while. I've done that too, and it'll flatten it out. So I'm going to put a little bit more paint in here because it's not quite covered the way I like it. Now at this point, I just take a blow dryer to it because I'm in a hurry. But you always have to be careful with a blow dryer, especially if you're doing it when you make dots, because you can blow your paint all over. When it's just a base coat like this, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to blow it dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we got some good coverage going here, I think. So I'm going to move some of this out of the way. Let's see here. Get my palette in the screen. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this green in the palette a few times. Twice as good for right now. We'll use the darker color as top dots, but I'm going to lighten, and then I'm going to really lighten. And you can use anything you want to use to mix that, like this brush, you know, that mixes pretty good. Some people use toothpicks, but I don't have much luck mixing with toothpicks. It just doesn't stir it very well for me. So we're just going to work on getting a couple different lighter shades. And you could use any color you want. I just had this green handy, so I figured I'd use that. But you can use pink or yellow or purple or whatever you want. I just had this one right there. And it's not a very pretty color, but for demonstration purposes it'll do. And I want to have kind of a good difference in color, so I'm gonna add that. Now, if you ever do like me and make drips all over, if you just take a wet Q-tip and roll it, it'll come off as long as your paint's dry. I'm kind of a messy painter. Not on purpose, it just happens. Let me move that out of the way. Alright, let's see. I think I'm gonna mix a little bit of the, make this just a little bit darker. So there's more of a difference in the two colors. And if you have money and you can afford to buy several colored paints, then by all means buy several colored paints. This is just what I did when I wanted to try it out before I invested any money into the hobby. Okay, so now I got a lighter and a darker, and I've got my white that I could use too. And then of course the darker color for top dots. Alright, now I'm going to move this over here. Now we need to find our center. And to do that, I always just go angle to angle, you know, from the corner to corner. And I make just a little line right in the center, because at this point in time I didn't have a chalk pencil that came off very easily, and I didn't want my lines to still show. So if you just make a little X, you'll be painting right over it, you won't even see it. So there's my X. Now we're just going to do a very basic painting just to see if we like it. So like I said, I got this pencil and I'm using the eraser end and I'm using this end for a little bit bigger, and then I've got a toothpick for even smaller. So I'm going to use the eraser end and I'm going to use my lightest color of the green, and I'm just going to make a dot right in the middle like that. Now because you're using just a pencil in that, I just wipe it off with paper towels and it'll get all globbed up like that, and that's okay because you're just trying it out and you're only going to do a few paintings with it. Or you could take it and use a damp cloth on this end, on the spongy end. Where's the there? But this end, see how it fills up with that? You could like sharpen the pencil and get rid of that and then do a different color or whatever. But I just wipe it off. It doesn't carry over if it's dry. Okay, so now I'm going to take the toothpick and I'm going to do a dot on the top, a dot on the bottom underneath this dot, and one from side to side. And if they're not perfect, they're not perfect. You got to practice your dotting to get them better. And then I'm going to put one in the middle of each of those. And we're just going to basically do the same pattern throughout this whole thing, just to get some practice with our dotting and get the feel of the paint. Each paint type is different. Some are sticky, some are not, some are looser than others. So now I'm going to take the lighter color green again, And I'm going to put a dot going out just a little bit right in between each of those with that light green color we made. And you just move your paper around as you need to so that you can see it decent. And then take your toothpick and wipe it off. Now I'm going to do another row of white, and I'm going to top dot above those green ones we just did, again with the toothpick. Okay, now I'm going to move up to the pencil pointy end, and I'm going to make dots in between those white ones with this darker green color. Not this background color, but the little bit lighter one that we made. We don't have very good lighting today for some reason. I'm hoping you can see it decent. If you don't like how big of a dot it's making, you can either wear the pencil away, you know, scrub on the paper and wear it down so it's thicker, or you could sharpen it and make it pointier, whatever you need to do to get it the size that you want it to be. And you can get several pencils and make some pointy and some not so pointy. And then when you want to use them again, you just have to sharpen them up and get rid of the paint. Okay, now I think I'm going to make another row of the same color, and I'm going to put it on top of the white with the same tool, the pointy end of the pencil. Okay, now I'm going to move up to the eraser end, and I'm going to put a dot with the white in between those green dots. And this might take a little practice, because if you just put paint on the end, you see how it's, I'm not here. I don't know if you can see how it's dripping. I gotta find where the camera is better. How it's just kind of hanging there. If you don't touch it to the paper completely, it'll make a slightly smaller dot than if you depress it all the way. So you can actually get different size dots out of the same tool. See how this one's a little bit smaller and this one's a little bit bigger? And that's okay, because I want to try and keep them in between those other dots. Because you always want to get them as close as you can to your other dots, but you don't want to overlap them if you can help it. But that'll happen from time to time also. It's all part of learning. I just kind of watch it from an angle and see how far it's spreading as I'm touching the paper. Okay. And this would be much more colorful if you had other colors, but this is just a try it out. Now I'm going to use the lighter green color. And I might even light, well, no, that's good. I'm going to use the big eraser yet, and I'm going to make another dot on the outside of each of those, in between the two white dots again. But it's actually just in the crease. It's not pushed up against it, so you can make a slightly bigger dot there. And I didn't get my paint all the way mixed in. I'll show you. This is just a quick little video, so I'm not really super worried about how this comes out, but you take your time and make it pretty. And then I'm not keeping this image, I'm just demonstrating. See how, like here, I don't have it all mixed in. And that really doesn't even bother me because I'm just practicing my dotting and that mainly. And I'm going to top dot over it, so you're not going to notice it so much. But you really got to make sure your paint's mixed in. Like here, I just dumped the paint in there the first time without mixing it, so shaking it. And see how oily and wet that is. And it should really look like what this does. That's bad. You don't want to use that, because it's not going to paint right. So make sure you shake your bottle, and then when you pour it in here, you mix it. And it should look like those. Okay, now I'm going to walk some dots with the white. And I'm going to use the pointy end of the pencil, and I'm going to make one dot on top of each one of these dots. So it's slightly bigger. So I just angle, I try to get the middle in relation to the center dot. So you got to just think of a line drawing to the center dot and try and make one right in the middle there of each one. And you don't have to do this step. Some people just dot and then walk. But I like to use a larger dot. And then I grab a smaller tool and I walk the dots around. So now that I got a dot above each, I'm going to grab my toothpick. And I'm going to walk the dots, which basically means you fill up your paintbrush or whatever tool you use and really dip it. And then you just dot along. You don't fill it back up again. You just fill it the first time and tap, tap, tap around. And then it's going to gradually make it lower or smaller or whatever you want to call it as you get closer to the inside as the paint wears off. And some people go one side, then the other side. I tend to just turn it and do one side, and then I do the other side. And this is just a way to practice dotting, see if you like it. before you spend a lot of money. Because it's easy to get excited and go to the craft store and buy a lot of paint. I'll show you my paint in a minute. I don't have a lot like some people do, but I do have quite a bunch. And then I'm going to go back and go around the other side. And it all depends on how much painting you like to do to practice. I started out, I didn't make 4x4s, I only made 2x2s, and I'd stop at about this point after this. And I would make another one because I wanted to make a different style and do a different pattern, and then you can do that. I've got so many pieces of cardboard saved with different designs that I did. It's all about having fun and relaxing and being creative. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little walking out. I think I'm going to take the white with the pointy end, and I'm just going to tap and walk, kind of walk the dots out. And just do 3 little dots going out like that on each one of these white dots. And you just have to use your imagination and decide what you would like to do. Now see, sometimes this will happen too, where I've got, see, I got gaps going on all of these but this one. I got those too close together. So I just try and estimate, maybe I'll do my dots just a little bit smaller so that they kind of end at the same spot all the way around. It's hand painted, and some people are perfectionists, get everything perfect, but I have a tendency to make some errors here and there, and that's okay. I'm still practicing. I'll be much more careful when I'm doing stuff and trying to sell stuff or giving it to somebody. I'll be more of a perfectionist when it comes to that. But you're never going to get better unless you practice. So this is practice. There we go. And now I think I'm going to do a big white dot at the end of these with the pencil eraser again. And you can make a really big one when you come out here because there's plenty of room. Okay. Now I'm going to walk more dots. And I think I'm going to use white, and then I'm going to walk some other colors around it as well. So I'm going to do the bigger white dot with the pointy end of the pencil first. And just try and keep it in line with those other dots on the other side. going to go back to my toothpick, and I'm going to walk the dots on the sides around. Now, as far as painting this palette goes, I got this plastic palette here. And a lot of people let their paint dry in their palette after they paint, and then they just pick it out later. And you know, I found that that is true for the Decalart Americana line. If I let them dry in there, I could pick them out, and they come out in one piece, and it's really easy to clean it that way. It's nice. But if I'm using like the cheaper apple barrel paint, it tends to really dry in there, and it doesn't pick out as easy. And so the first time I let it just dry in there, it just kind of was aggravating because I couldn't get it out. And I was like, oh, I just bought all this stuff and now I can't even use it because it's dried in there. Well, first of all, you could just add more paint to your palette right over the top and continue painting. I was just freaking out over nothing. And secondly, if you can't get it out, just run super hot water in your sink and run it over it. And it will loosen it back up, and then you can rub it out. So no worries there. But I'm kind of more on the cheap side because I don't have a lot of money to spare when it comes to hobbies and that. And so something like that devastates me more. But if you get the Americana paint, it comes out pretty good. You just gotta try it and see. But it's nice that they're water soluble, because you just heat it up with hot water, and if you get it on your desk or on anything like that, you could just take some really hot water on a wash rag and just wipe it off, or paper towel. I use baby wipes a lot to clean up, or Clorox wipes, but Clorox wipes could be expensive. Okay. And now I'm going to take that lighter green color, and I'm going to move my tool up a little bit and go to this pencil end, and I'm going to walk lighter green dots around. I'm just going to really fill my, I always say fill my brush, but it's not a brush, it's a pencil. Really dip it in there and get quite a bit of paint, and then you can have a bigger dot on the outside if you want it. And that's the same with any dotting tool or paintbrush for that matter. You can paint smaller dots by just dipping it in the paint a little bit, but if you really submerge it, you'll get a much bigger dot out of it. Okay, so now I'm going to walk the dots. Okay, now the other side. Alright. Now I think I'm going to put maybe one of the darker color greens right out the edges all the way around. And then I think I'm going to call it good for my pattern. And I'm just going to do top dots in a minute when it dries a little bit. Okay, so that's what we got going, and I will be right back in a minute after I blow it dry. Okay, I'm pretty much dry now. So now I'm going to put my top dots on, and I'm going to use the pointy end of the pencil. Well, some of these are a little wet yet, so I might have to wait on those. But I'm going to use this. No, I'm not. I'm going to use the dark green, the one that the background color is in. And I'm going to put top dots on these white circles right here in the center with the pointy end of the pencil. And all that's going to do is bring out the background color more because it's going to be matching. Okay, and now I'm going to attempt to do the same thing on these white dots, but they're not quite dry, so sometimes they dot okay, and sometimes they won't dot evenly, or they'll make a mess. And if you wait for your background to dry completely, then you can rub it off if they're not even. But this way, if it happens, I'm going to be rubbing the white paint off as well, which isn't so good. But in that case, you could always paint the white paint on there again and go back in and top dot when it's dry. So none of that's the end of the world. Okay, and now I think I'm going to take the white and I'm going to top dot these medium colored, again with the pencil on the tippy end, the pointy end. And I think I'm going to do white on these outer ones as well. And I'm going to call that good. I like it. And here is what we did with just a pencil, a toothpick, and a couple things of paint. And of course, your cereal box. And you could put this in a little frame and it would look cute. Even though it's on cardboard. So just in case you're curious, I'm going to show you what paint I have. Or at least a little bit. See, there's my mess. So I hope you like what we did, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. Have a good one. See ya.